If you have ever worked through a mental block in gymnastics, then you know how hard it is to get through. Finally, you rebuild your confidence, you're doing your skill again, and it seems like this mental block is a thing of the past until it comes back again. Sometimes on the same skill, sometimes on a different event. And when it comes back, it's easy to be confused, feel defeated, and also feel kind of angry. If you don't know me, I'm Coach Anna. I'm a mental performance coach, and I work with gymnasts helping them move through mental blocks and learn the tools to overcome those blocks that keep standing in their way. I've worked with almost 1,000 gymnasts now who have had mental blocks, and just know that you are not alone. I see gymnasts like you every single day, and there is help. It is out there. Here's the truth. Blocks are in no way a sign of weakness, but they are a sign that something is still amiss with your brain. I'm going to talk about what those reasons might be today. Just know that there's nothing wrong with you, and that a mental block coming back does not mean you'll have them forever, but it does mean you have some work to do. All right, let's talk about the first reason that a mental block might come back, and that's because you are rushing the process. Mental blocks don't disappear overnight. You know that. I know you've worked through this. When you start doing the skill again, your trust is not fully built. Might have been high enough for your brain to allow you to do your skill again, but that trust has to constantly be rebuilt over and over and over again. And if you're rushing through the process and assuming everything is okay, that trust is going to get depleted before you've had the chance to really build it up consistently. You might be doing your skill completely where you need to do it. Maybe you're going for your flyaway on the hard mats in between the bars, and it feels great this entire week. And so you go, okay, great, I'm through my mental block. And then the next week you go in and you can barely throw a flyaway into the pit. It just means you need more time. You're rushing the process. Go back to the basics, build up your skill slowly, do lots of drills, lots of spots if you need them. Put a lot of repetitions into your trust bank. Got to build that trust back up, and you've got to consistently do that for your brain to say, okay, it's safe to do your skill. This is about training your brain, building that trust back up with your brain, not training your body. Body can do the skill. So it's not a matter of relearning it. It's just a matter of getting your brain to feel like it has enough trust to say, okay, go for it. All right. So no rushing through the process. If you do your skill for a week or two and then you have a mental block again, it just means you haven't really worked through it all the way. Another reason why your mental block keeps coming back is because you've got those negative stories that keep swirling around in your brain, and they're not gone. The way you think about yourself and talk to yourself matters in gymnastics, but it's especially important when working through a mental block. Sometimes we hold on to these beliefs back in our brain that tell us we're always going to have mental blocks. We're always going to struggle. We're never going to be the gymnast where skills come easily. And we hold on to those negative thoughts, and we hear them creeping in. When something goes a little bit wrong with our skills, we hear those voices loud and clear. So the inner voices that you're hearing, they're fueling those mental blocks instead of calming your nervous system and helping you feel more confident. Anything that can remind you that you're safe, you've got this, you can do this, are helpful. However, I'm going to say one thing about that. Do not try to trick your brain into thinking positive thoughts. All done this as a gymnast. I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. But you know what? You feel like you don't really have it. So you can't trick your brain, but you also don't want to let your brain go off into that negative Nelly brain where it just gets stuck thinking you'll always have mental blocks, you'll never get through this. Instead, come up with a mantra or a phrase that you can say to yourself that feels true. I can keep working. I'll get through this eventually. Over time, this will get better. Those are all statements that you can be on board with believing because they're true. And they're more positive than what you were thinking. Slowly rebuilding the negative thoughts in your brain, replacing them with thoughts that are more neutral and feel true to you is going to help you move more in that positive direction and will help you in time move through your mental block faster. The third reason mental blocks keep coming back is that you are focusing on the skill and not the mental work. Yes, breaking down your skill into baby steps is definitely going to help build that trust so that you can start doing your full skill again. But if you aren't incorporating the mental side in that, then just doing the reps is not going to help you because the mental side is going to get in the way again. Think about things you can do mentally. It doesn't even have to be in the gym. Maybe you can visualize your skill over and over at home before you go to bed. You can do some deep mindset work, like what keeps causing these mental blocks? What are some thoughts that keep coming back? What are some pressures that I'm feeling? You've got to take a deep dive into your brain because those thoughts keep coming up over and over and over again. So figuring out what those thoughts are and working with a mental performance coach like myself to figure out how do I transform those thoughts into things that are going to help me? What's some mental work that I need to do that's going to move my brain in the positive direction? Putting in the reps is great, but you've got to connect your mind to what your body is doing. And it's important to incorporate both in your plan to get through a mental block. Another reason why you might keep getting mental blocks or keep getting stuck on skills that you start to avoid the skill when it gets tough again. Maybe you had been doing the skill and now all of a sudden your brain is stopping you and you aren't going for it. And then you decide, I'm just not going to work on it today. Now, it's okay to take breaks when you need them. There's no pushing through a mental block. But if you're completely avoiding the skill, that's not going to help you either. A lot of gymnasts, especially when it's competition season, let's say they're competing something backwards and they're blocked on it, they might be able to replace it with a different forward skill and they can compete that. But what happens is that then they will be practicing those routines with the forward skill in it, and they don't get a chance to work on the backward skill that they're blocked on. And so weeks and months can go by without them doing the skill. And then when they finally go to try it again during upgrade season, or when it's not a meet week and they can work on some other skills, they're kind of afraid to do it because now it's been a long time. So you want to make sure that you're still attempting to do the skill that you're blocked on. You shouldn't completely shelf it and forget about it. You want to still continue to work on it, even if you've replaced that skill with a different skill, so that you don't completely freak yourself out about doing that skill in the future. So avoiding the skill is not going to help you learn it. It's kind of obvious, but it is what happens a lot. Finally, when you're under pressure to get a skill, maybe you have a meet this upcoming weekend, maybe you are preparing for regionals and you need to do your skill. When you're under pressure to have to do it, it can shut your brain down even more. Maybe you've been doing it fine in the weeks leading up to this competition, but now it's meet week and your brain knows that you have to do it that weekend. The brain can shut you down, even though you've been doing the skill. Finding ways to alleviate that pressure, to make that pressure feel lighter so that your brain doesn't feel like it's in danger, is a strategy that you're going to have to work on. Again, something that you can work on with a mental performance coach like myself, but you can't just avoid the feelings of pressure and stress and act like they're not there, because your brain has to learn how to deal with that. That's what is consistently bringing you back to these mental blocks, is not knowing how to handle that. All right, so just remember that if your mental block keeps coming back, it means there's still mental work to do. You haven't truly worked through it. Maybe you've done some things that have helped it get better, but you haven't gotten down to the root cause of why this mental block keeps happening. The best thing you can do is get someone to help you. Again, like myself, a mental performance coach who knows what mental blocks are in gymnastics. You can learn the tools that can help you work through your mental block permanently. Make sure you subscribe to the Stick It Girl channel for more videos like this, as well as other helpful tips for getting you through your season mentally.